It's not just an ordinary Tuesday. Welcome to Terrier Tuesdays, the show where you can get to know some of Boston University's best and brightest student athletes.
Welcome to another episode of Terrier Tuesdays, Alumni Edition. I'm Meg Kelly, and I'm so excited to be joined by Steph Dreyer from women's soccer team. Steph, how are you doing today?
I'm great. Thank you so much for having me. It's an honor to be talked to you in this wonderful platform.
Yes, and thank you for sharing this awesome background. I'm probably going to keep this for the rest of my Zoom calls. It's so cool. But students are back on campus, and the soccer team started practicing this week. So I was wondering if you have any memories from your playing days and reporting back to campus. Did any feelings come to mind?
Definitely. Well, it's hard to believe that it's actually been 13 years since I graduated from BU. But I remember my first day of preseason like it was yesterday. When we were back in school, we used to go to Northampton for our preseason. But before we would go, we always spent like a night or two in the 1019 dorms at BU. And over the first few days, we had to do, we always did a fitness test. So we did the beep test, and there were 7 freshmen my year, and only one passed. Paula Moniz was the only freshman to pass the beep test, and it was like mortifying that none of us could pass it. I did pass it the second time though. But that was just such a fun time because, there was no one there except the athletics teams that had fall seasons. And it was just your opportunity to play soccer, get to know each other. And it's really where like our bonds were formed. And I remember at preseason, at the end of the time in Northampton, we used to do a bonfire, and it was sort of a tradition. I don't know if that still happens. And during the bonfire, we would all wear like red streamers around our heads, and we'd all wear our BU sweatsuits, and we would sing songs and eat marshmallows and s'mores. And it was just such a great time. And then we would go back to BU proper, and we would start our games. So I remember preseason, although it was a stressful time because of all the fitness tests, it was a fun time.
Yeah, no one ever forgets the beep test. That leaves some PTSD in you for sure.
Definitely.
And you were a comm major, and you've had a really successful career working in communications. You're currently the VP for Web Strategy and Customer Experience at American Bankers Association. So what kind of stemmed your passion for the communications field, and how did BU help propel you in your career?
Well, I'm really grateful for how BU prepared me for my career. I actually entered BU as a poli-sci major because I thought that I was going to be a lawyer. But I fell into an internship on the Hill my sophomore year working as a communications assistant. And I went back to BU and I changed my major. And I had no idea at the time how wonderful the BU comms program was. It was top 3 in the nation, and the teachers were just fabulous. And I really just took to it. I had a great group of teachers that showed me how to write press releases and pitch news stories and, how to basically run a comm shop. And when I graduated and took my first job as the deputy press secretary for Senator Schumer, I felt ahead of my peers, and I was really ready to take on the job. I was using the skills that I learned at BU daily. So I really am very grateful for the education that I got there, and feel very fortunate to have had that opportunity to learn those skills in school and not had to learn them on the job.
Not only have you had a successful career in communications, you're also the head of the Alumni Council for the women's soccer program. So how did that role come about, and what are you doing exactly?
Well, when I was in school, Dee Woolley was the chair of the Alumni Association, and she had been in that role for many, many years. And about a year or two after I graduated, Coach called and said that, she wanted to bring in someone who could help sort of bridge the gap between Dee and some of the more current players, as well as bring in someone who wasn't living in Boston, because Dee is a Boston area resident, and I'm obviously down in DC. And there was a large contingent of BU athletes in the DC area. So I sort of created that bridge between the Northeast and the South a little bit. And so she brought me in, and she actually just did that again a year or two ago when we started the Alumni Council, which now has era captains. And so I think that has done a great job in terms of helping to promote the communication from coach on down. Anytime that she has an announcement, or if we want to try to advertise an upcoming event, the era captains are emailing their group and telling them about what's going on and encouraging them to take part in whatever activity there is. So it's been great being a part of the Alumni Council, and I'm really happy that Coach has included me all these years.
Yeah, and speaking of those alumni, the women's soccer program has probably one of the strongest networks in all of college sports. Can you give us the secret to what makes it so special to not only be a member of that program when you're playing, but then once you graduate?
I think it's hard to nail down one thing, but I will say that the fact that we've had one coach for the entirety of our program certainly helps, and it's unique. And I think Coach Feldman is a very special coach. She really cares about her players, and she takes the time to get to know them as people. And I think that is what, has really kept a lot of us sort of involved with the program even after we graduate. But I've known since day one that BU is a special place. I had friends who went to top tier programs like Duke or UPenn, and they just did not have the same experience that I did. They don't have the same relationships with their friends that they do. All of my best friends are from the BU women's soccer team or the BU men's team or the field hockey team for that matter. And I just think that we have a very special pride in our program. I mean, we attend each other's weddings and baby showers and sadly even funerals. I mean, sadly, Erica Lee, who was in my class, passed away last year. And I spoke at her funeral and I said that nothing forms a friendship like a 9-hour bus ride after a game, especially if the result was less than favorable. But the bonds that you form with your teammates, I just think they go really deep. And I just think the BU is a very special place, and I'm very proud to have played for BU and to be a Terrier.
That's so awesome, Steph. I'm so glad that we had the time to meet today and to chat. And thank you so much. And hopefully we'll see you in the spring for a game.
Definitely.
Thanks for tuning in to Terrier Tuesdays. Give us a follow on our social media accounts at BU Athletics on Twitter and Instagram for more content.